What's up, everybody? It's Speaking Line, and this is DLC Required, a show where gamers talk about gaming and whatever gamers talk about. This week, we are joined by vocal assassin, Borderlands one-lifer, streamer, and just you really sexy, great dude. You're gonna love his voice. That's it. You're gonna leave comments and be like, oh my god, his voice, and complain about me saying like too much because that's the internet. Yes, let's do it. I'm assuming audio will be fine. And if not, who cares? Okay, I care. I care a lot. I'm very thirsty.
Do you want to get some water?
I have water. I want my Capri Sun, and I didn't get my Capri Sun.
What the hell?
Because I didn't need it. I didn't think about it. Have you ever taken Adderall?
No.
The only side effect I have, like, it makes you like not realize you're hungry and stuff. So there's, partly why you suck at eating all day. But it just, the IR specifically makes your mouth so dry, and you're just like, you forget to drink water, but then you're just desperately thirsty. I forget that. So it's on top of just waking up. It's the Adderall mouth.
You get to feel how I feel when I start streaming.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. What even got you doing one lives? Because it's just not something I feel like when I first saw permadeaths on like menus in modern games, it had never occurred to me before to do something like that. And so I'm always like, speed running, I get, but it also just, it had to be introduced to me. But Borderlands feels like such a specific thing to do one life in, but like, do you do them in other games, or is Borderlands like the thing that got you into that bullshit?
So I guess for that kind of to make sense, I guess I need to like swing a little bit further out and like explain how I even got streaming.
Yeah,
because that'll explain a little bit. So I started playing the games because my best friend at the time introduced me to him back on the PS3 with Borderlands 1. That was in like 2009, 2010-ish. So back then I was a fan of the series. Then I got Borderlands 2 when it came out. But obviously since I played on like PS3 and I was very young and everything, I played it like very on and off and very casually, and then I kind of forgot about it until like 2017 when I got the Handsome collection, and I discovered as many people in the community on YouTube Jolts, right?
Of course.
And so I was like a silent part of the community for the longest time. I watched his videos and whatnot, but I didn't interact with anyone. But then when was it? End of 2020, I think. I got to Twitch and I was watching a Jolt stream, and Wretched got introduced or got recommended to me. So I hopped into his stream because he was farming like a Northfleet or something. So I hopped into his stream and I really enjoyed the atmosphere there. So I was talking with him. And then one time he hosted or raided Dark Smoke.
Perfect.
Yeah, and that's how I got introduced to Smoke, and then I started hanging around in his chat quite a bit, and then, I became a mod, we became somewhat friends, and then, I met everyone like Wabaki, Nymph, and those two actually, like, bullied me / peer pressured me into actually starting to stream, because, I had been playing with the thought for a while, so then they kept pressuring me and telling me, yeah, you should stream, it's fine. So then I started streaming, and my first stream I actually got raided by Smoke directly.
Oh my god!
Yeah, so that was fun.
That's a while.
Ever since then I was streaming, and the one life thing was mainly because at the time when I discovered like Smoke, he was doing one lives.
So you're saying we can thank Daddy Smoke for your one life obsession?
Yeah, I guess. Because, at first I was like, I saw him play, and obviously I was like, at the start, yeah, one life, I could never do that. I'm way too bad at the game, and whatever the hell.
I'm not. I'm fantastic at this game. I'm too good for one lives, really. It's why we don't see them.
Right. But yeah, I think I talked to Smoke, like in his stream as well, and he was like, man, just do it, like, bro, just like start. What's the issue? I was like,
basically what you said to me. Yeah.
Maybe you're right. And then I started like, I had 2 offline attempts. I think I did one axed run, which died at like 23, and then 2 Maya attempts. Sorry, one died at like 39, and the other one at like 40-ish. I don't remember. That was before I started streaming. Then I started streaming, and my first ever One Life attempt on stream died at level 10.
Amazing. I mean, it's got to go that way, though. You couldn't have gone like, OP3 or whatever on your first one. You can't.
Yeah.
You got to find
everyone starts somewhere, right? So that's why I'm always like, I'm kind of like smirking when people say, I could never do One Life, I'm way too bad. I'm like, bro, I had the exact same thought. And, here we are,
I feel like there's also just a lot of really specific, especially in something like Borderlands, where the gear acquisition is so unforgiving at times. You just have to be so specific with it. And people like me who, I don't know, if I hyperfixate on it, I could like memorize, this is exactly when I need this gun and this type of gun part and do all that. But I feel like that's really intimidating for people in the same way Borderlands 3, I feel like, is just so large at this point now. If they weren't in on it in the beginning, it's overwhelming. But like, even those mechanics just like don't occur to me in games. Like when Last of Us 2 launched with the permadeath option and the grounded options and things like that, I was like, I would not even know how to approach this other than get good. And I know there has to be other things about it than that. But it wouldn't have occurred to me if games didn't start putting it in there. Because even when I watched content online, it was all YouTube. It was back in the more Let's Play heavy era than Twitch. Which is funny now because I remember thinking of streaming Borderlands actually a few years ago. And I remember looking in the directory and it had to have been like right after Jolts got offline or something and K6 was offline and everything. And like there was no one in any of the directories. I'm like, well, it's a dead game. And that's just not remotely true because people are so rapid about these. But I was laughing with the One Life stuff being bad about things. My reputation for my chaos is always interesting because I never expect to have it. I never expect that to be a hot take, rather. But like even the other day I popped in Jolt's stream to like resub or something and someone just added me. It's like, oh, are you here to give Jolt some tips on playing Maya? And I was like, okay. Yes, I am. Sandra leveled and you'll be fine, baby. It's fine. Pro tip me to you. But I'm like, you're going to drag me on Maya. It was really funny. But it's just really interesting because it's such a unique way to play the game for me. But I don't know if within the community, like not a ton of people do it, but everyone knows about it. And I think everyone by default assumes the character's a One Life character when they come in for the first time, especially when I'm on like an OP Maya or something. Because they're like, there's no way you've been doing this One Life and it's, you don't have a grog or whatever. I'm like, yeah, because it's not a One Life and I don't want the grog.
You play this game for fun? That's crazy. Literally,
I'm like, I would just play. I kept saying I want to restart it really like 4 missions in and onward. Hi, Remy, come here. Come on. We have a visitor. Hold on. There we go. I would like want to start like 4 missions in and just keep restarting after I got to Angel, where I'm like, I every day want to replay the same parts of this game. Because it's comforting and it's fun. I wasn't even grinding for anything, which now I think is ridiculous. But even, my girlfriend will just be like, who the fuck are you? Because suddenly I'm talking about gun parts or like they'll get a drop and I'll be looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a torque stock though. Like I would actually, and she goes, literally, when did this happen? I'm like, I don't know.
When you started hanging around Twitch.
It was even before, it was a little bit before that, but not a ton. I think it just kind of was dormant in me because I always say I didn't get involved really with the gaming part of the Borderlands community until really Twitch. Like I hadn't processed how many people I already knew by osmosis. Like I'd seen K6 videos. I think I'd actually met probably all of them, all the, big dudes, because I was working at the hotel in the gallery, not even like an employee of the hotel, where they were doing the streamer reveal for Borderlands 3. And I didn't know they were doing it there because it had been so like NDA heavy. And so I'm just walking to work one day in the middle of Hollywood, like feeling hungover, even though I'm not, wanting coffee. And I'm like, what are all these fucking people doing here? And I walk in and it's just Borderlands shit everywhere. And I immediately get my phone and I text my girlfriend. I'm like, okay, so here's the thing. They're streamers here and they're all doing Borderlands reveal and I'm trying to get some information, and I like ended up with swag bags. I like, it was all this like covert stuff because I was just hosting this gallery that had like Helmut Nunes and Playboy prints you couldn't get anywhere. But I would just like walk up and be like, hey, what's in the bag? I'm just really curious. So like, what's the game like? Like just trying so hard to get anything. And Yeah, it's just weird thinking about that. I was so around it for so many things, but even like the cosplay community is so separate from it. And so when I talk to like my cosplay Borderland friends, they have no idea about the day-to-day drama or, you know, hot takes in the gaming community and vice versa. I'm like, I feel like I see so many different sides of the fandom that by the time I got into the gaming community and found the ridiculous group of gamer bros that we do have, it just like have been dormant in me, and I've been like, oh yeah, that's why that, yeah. So okay, about batteries, let's talk about Bandit battery. And it just I did not realize I've been internalizing this stuff because I hadn't been on Reddit and stuff. But I love
Keeping, acquiring knowledge via like just proximity. I dig
literally just osmosis. And I feel like I mean, it helps that I like started like running into, you know, game devs and things like that at conferences because hyperfixation will reward brain. But even still, it just I've played the games so much, but for the most absurd reasons. Like, why would you rerun this campaign for fun and reset your progress every few days? It makes no sense. There's no reward.
I mean, hey, so someone has to care about the story, right?
listen, I feel proud. I say all the time that my goal, and it's not like I even have an ulterior motive, but just like if my, you know, batshit hyperfixation and love for the lore does anything, it's that people get to revisit pre-sequel, Borderlands 3, whatever they've kind of written off, Wonderlands. Because so many times I've ranted about it so much, and then people will come in and be like, you know what, fine, you're right. I tried TPS and I really don't mind the gravity thing, or this is actually kind of funny, or 3 is actually fine. I'm still lukewarm on the twins, but like this is fun, or the mechanics are fun. Like I feel like people just had a really knee-jerk reaction to a lot of stuff, which is human and normal, and I do it a ton. Like when I first opened 3, I was like, what is this UI? Like I was so overstimulated by the skill trees, I did not know what to do.
Yeah.
And even still now, it's like it doesn't come as natively because I just haven't sank as many hours into it because it wasn't my comfort bubble. But that's someone like me who like is like, no, I'm gonna defend this till I die, whatever. Like I still am overwhelmed by it sometimes. And so I'm like, of course change is hard, which I think a lot of series do, honestly. But I mean, like people did the same thing when Resident Evil went like, you know, first person and things like that. So
yeah, I think there's like quite a few parts to that because it's first what you said, change, right? People don't really like change. Mm-hmm. But the funny thing about that is if things stay the same, people will still complain. So like, yeah.
That's what I say all the time. My hot take is 2K Gearbox would be the smartest people in the world to never, ever touch a Borderlands 2 remaster remake. I want it. I want it. Selfishly. There's no way that's going to be taken well. But I want it to be remade in the 3 engine. I want to have, you know, some of the deleted dialogue. I want, you know, better cutscenes. I want, you know, all this stuff. But it would just be torn apart. And I don't blame them for any of that. And it's just why I get so mad when people like shit on something with 3. I'm just like, it could have been exactly the same interface as 2 or exactly the same as 2, and you would have been upset. And it's like, I don't know how it's easy to move forward when even if it's minority, but they're the loud majority online, are shitting on something.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just what you said about like make it in Borderlands 3 engine. Please don't. Do not.
Listen, that's what K6 is campaigning for.
That is a horrid idea. Genuinely a horrid idea.
Well, everyone wants like, if there were a Borderlands 2 remaster, everyone when they talk about a remaster, say, I want to be able to like mantle and climb and slide, and that's it. I'm like, they would have to redo so much.
Every single map.
Yeah, and that's why I try to explain. I'm like, even if they're remaking it from the ground up, like Last of Us 1, like I remember there was a big like kerfuffle online when they said that they weren't adding the dodging and proning that was in part 2, and they were like, 1, it doesn't make sense for Joel, it makes sense for Ellie. 2, the maps aren't designed for that, and they're like, well, then it's not a remake. And it's like, no, there's a difference between redesign. Like people just don't know what goes into game dev, and I'm like, even if they remade this entirely in, you know, a different engine, every map would have to change. I'm like, Borderlands 2 I love partially because it's so goddamn broken. Like it feels like an older game, and I like that. And it doesn't feel like the type of thing for, you know, that type of gameplay. And I say this is someone who can't grenade jump, but it just, the things I think people would nitpick about it would just be a disaster. But like, I know K6 is like, he'll say his dream is like to remastered with 3's engine and like gear system and things like that. But I mean, do you think there, I just don't think there's any way, even if it was like a fantastically done remake, that people would stop playing and making content for the original too. Like we don't even play with the HD texture pack.
Yeah, because it's crashes your game.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I'm like, at what point is it just like, okay, well, this runs better on this one, or like this gun's different. Like it just, people have what they have, and that's fine. But I don't know many other franchises that people are that protective of the older version on.
The thing about what you said with BL3's gear system, that is also a horrendous idea, because BL3's gear system is bad. No, especially compared or like linked to the or linked with the gear acquisition system, right? Because the like weapon system, you have so many more parts. It is a lot more complex, meaning with the acquisition system staying the same as it was in BL2, you've just added like 10 layers of complexity and therefore like randomness, which makes farming virtually impossible, right?
Yeah.
Like, think of like class mod or artifact farming, right? You want the right skills, you want maybe the right prefix or like type of class mod or artifact, and then you have the 3 random bonuses, right? So if you want like 3 or 2 out of 3 of them, that's another like a lot of layers, and sometimes it even matters in which order they are. So like that is, BL3 does not have a good loot system, absolutely not. Like either the loot acquisition system needs to change, or the gun complexity needs to go down. Because otherwise, with especially also with increased load times that we see like in BL3 and Wonderlands, it won't work. Like it's not viable to develop that any further. And that's my gripe with what you said about BL2 with BL3's engine. That would just also increase load times, and people don't really like that, because they would again need to change then the loot acquisition system, because you cannot rely on safe quit farming anymore. Not that safe quit farming is a great system in the first place. But,
I mean, that's the thing. There are plenty of people who farm on 3 that are like, fuck the 2 acquisition system, which I love. One's not even in the conversation for it. But how do you feel then about how Wonderlands did the luck loot metric? Pretend that was one fluid thought.
I mean, they changed it like pretty early on in the game, right?
Yeah.
It was where you had to do it on every character, which I don't think is a good way to approach it. I think the system in general is a pretty good one, right? Because it was basically you increase the odds of getting better quality gear or something. I don't know how it exactly works. And that's also something. They need to be more transparent with how their shit works.
Yeah. That's true.
Like just saying luck, that doesn't mean anything. Like
the RNG is luck. Like that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but like with BL2's rare loot relic, it doesn't really do what you think it does.
I know the amount of people that think it'll do like legendaries and like and like specific ones that they want, or like the right parts. Like there are just so many misconceptions, because it does have very, very generic red text on, which you feel like it would be self-explanatory. But I feel like there are a lot of things in the later games specifically that feel like they should be intuitive, and they're not for me. But then I know people say the exact same thing about like pre-sequel when I talk about things. I don't know. I was explaining during the hunt to Telepath that a lot of people were speedrunning to get to the, OP levels because of the loot drop rate and just some of the gear. And it just wouldn't, like, she didn't get it. It was like, well, why wouldn't you just do everything on normal mode to like get it? Because it'll be easier to farm even if you level up. And it's that. And it's like so much about these systems are broken. But again, it's hard for me to scratch that itch somewhere else, because I don't know. And granted, I never played Destiny. I kind of missed the boat on that. And I think that's a good example of what an online Borderlands would kind of, turn into community wise. But I can't think of another game that has a similar type of grind that Borderlands has. And I'm sure I'm just missing a whole genre, but like even when people ask me for other looter shooters, that there none come up. And I think that's what I really like about 2, as masochistic as it can be, the idea that I've spent hours farming, one thing and the part's wrong and I can't use it. As long read-only farming, no, that kind of sucks. But like, when we're farming Hunter and it's taking a while, like it feels actually rewarding. Like there's a dopamine release in my brain when I get the thing I want. And Wonderlands and 3, specifically 3, you can still have those really hard grinds, but it's at very specific, like, Mayhem 6 or after this. And I feel like statistically, you're just going to have more, legendaries and better weapons with that many more guns. But the actual parts of it not mattering as much should be rewarding. And I don't know why it's not. I haven't figured out why my brain doesn't connect with that,
Maybe because it's not as visually representative, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe.
Because with BL2 system, you have, first, it's obviously the complexity of it, right? Complexity is less, so you have less to focus on, so it feels less intimidating. But also, I feel like, with the gun grips, or like pistol grips in BL2 specifically, you have like 5 or like 6, no, 7 grips, I think. I fucking forgot. You have like a few grips.
Too many grips.
Yeah, but like, more or less which ones to go for and which ones to avoid. And it's pretty easy, most of the time the matching grip is the one that you're after.
And you don't even see the parts on some.
Yeah, right. And then you go to shields, right? And then you have artifacts which have grades, which are sometimes visually represented. But, then you go to BL3 and it's like the part complexity very much ruins it because it goes into the like hundreds of millions to get, a specific item. And even just getting a very basic item, right? Take the sickle, for example, in BL3. It's like a 10% chance from the warden, but for that gun to be even remotely usable, you need the boom accessory or like prefix. And that's another like 7.1 something percent on top of that. So you have a 1 in 10 times a 1 in 14, I believe it is already. And then you add the elements and then you add the parts and then you can see how far the rabbit hole goes down. And again, that's just guns, right?
Yeah.
You go to class mods, you go to artifacts, and it's again literally in the hundreds of millions. So it's like they need to change something about that.
I just also think it's hard to please everyone too. So it's like, what's the goal here? Is it having a gun go burr? Or is it like how do you reward both types of players? And I don't know. I don't have a solution to that. I really don't. But
I don't think you can.
I think my biggest kind of LOL, and this is literally no shade to anyone, but when Redux brought back Pearlescence and they're like, yeah, pearls are back. I'm like, do people miss? Like, the things that I feel like people are attached to, I'm always kind of shocked by. Like some of them I get, like, I literally like, the dumbest guns, and we know this, but I don't know. Like I find guns that go to different games, I tend to not like. Once it came from 1 to 2, everything was an improvement, I feel like. But like, even take like Gwyn's Head. I say Gwyn's Head and TPS sucks. It fucking sucks. And I like that changes. I do like that you are like, you can't just like, oh, here, I'm going to roll with all this. But like the conference call does not hit for me in 3 like it does. But I think that's because there are just more fun things to use in 3. And one thing that I do appreciate with that kind of system that, does reward players like me is that later levels, it's not like how the OPs are, where it's like you need very specific gear to get to this part. Like once you're at OP10, if you're not using the meta, you're probably fucked, Like there's a very specific formula to it. And Borderlands being so customizable in later games, I really feel like it lets you, if you want to be a tank, if you want to randomly do a sniper only, it makes those type of loyalty runs and those type of like, let me find new guns. I don't know. It adds something to it that I feel like probably has more longevity than someone like me who's like, but can I go get the Fibber again? Can we make that a world drop?
Yeah, specifically about the like returning guns things. I'm not really a fan of returning guns for the most part, mainly because I want to see new things, not the old things just reskinned. And secondly, when you have returning guns, there is always, by the community that has played the previous game, an expectation regarding its performance. So you either have like a very powerful gun, like the Herald in BL2, which people still see as one of the biggest meta weapons, even though
we're pivoting to that. Continue. I have thoughts. Go ahead.
But seeing its implementation in BL3, people had very strong expectations for that gun to perform in a similar way that it did in BL2, but that is most often really not possible because of the system changes that are in place and that have been implemented into the game. So most often they can't really perform how they did. And so like the expectations don't really get met, and then people get angry because the gun isn't as good as it was in BL2. There was the other thing, I don't know if it was the Flacker in BL3 or some kind of other shotgun that underwent like a lot of changes because, you know, one like group of people complained that it is too powerful, and then they changed something. And then, you know, the people who liked it from BL2 complained that it doesn't work in the same way as it does in BL2. And so you get this whole conundrum of people and this back and forth that doesn't really do anything. Whereas, you know, when you just introduce new items, like I said, it's firstly for me just more fun to explore stuff. But on the other hand, you don't have the tie to the previous game and that expectation of performance.
Yeah.
Which I feel like just helps the game in every way.
Yeah, I think there are ways to capitalize on the nostalgia of that and the excitement of that and not repeat it. But that's me also just getting into the lore bullshit that I know is too niche for developing those guns. Because on one hand, I'm like, yes, it feels more connected in the world when it's like a manufacturer would have the new and improved, you know, Unkempt Herald. It would keep re-releasing, like Malawan would have, you know, a new volcano that would have different things because their best-selling things, their most legendary things, why wouldn't they have new versions and everything come out? And so on the reality side of that, I enjoy. But then also I'm nitpicking where I'm like, okay, if Jack's dead, which Jack is dead, but like Jack's dead, why are these type of guns still being made? Which, again, 3 does really well because they very much change how Hyperion guns work. But why would we then still have, you know, the conference color, things like that? Wouldn't they be rebranding at that point, you know? And so I feel like it's very much, maybe it's easier, maybe it's just fun, maybe it's a gimmick, maybe because it literally doesn't take away the enjoyment of the game. If like I get a bitch to drop and it doesn't work like I wanted to, I can find a different gun. Like it makes people happy. It's going to make more people happy than it'll make people upset. But I feel like you do get in this rut of expectation and performances that you wouldn't otherwise get. Which is weird because even like my expectations of manufacturers between the games isn't consistent. So like if I pick up Atlas in 1 and Atlas in 3, I hate Atlas in 3, but you know, I didn't expect to really love it. And I like it in 1, but take Hyperion, who I clearly simp for, because it's my thing with the design for the Hyperion guns, fuck their shields other than the B, but with the Hyperion guns, it was just
sold random amp shields they used for speedrunning. Okay, the little amp shields would be fine, but when I was first learning the game and going, oh, this seems cool, and then I would just kill me all the time because my shield would be gone. Fuck that shield. That's a skill issue, and you know, years ago me is hurt by them. But no, the reverse recoil mechanic, which is something I hadn't seen in a game. Like it felt truly unique to Borderlands for me, and just something really was exciting about that. And I'll meme on it and I'll do whatever, but I don't carry that so much into TPS and 3, where I'm like, okay, their lasers are a lot like their snipers, but they work for these use cases. But I don't just blanket shrill for them. However, you take something like the conference call and move it to each game and it doesn't work like it does in 2, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck is this shit? And so I don't know why there's that disconnect there where I give the manufacturers grace, but I don't give the specific weapons grace. I mean, I would assume that, you know, one is a bit more of a direct connection where the other one is a bit more abstract. So I feel like your brain can make the abstraction there with the like manufacturer as a whole. whereas like one specific piece of equipment, right? Because I don't know if it's a good comparison, but like you have the same for like I don't know Pokemon and say specific Pokemon as a franchise and specific Pokemon. All right, I feel like a similar way of logic applies there, as you know, there's like this very strong love for like any specific Pokemon, but like
I've never
the franchise as a whole. Yeah, neither have I, but like
it sounds legit. I that tracks. I'm gonna say yes. Correct. Applause. But yeah, I just don't have a console.
Going back to like the gun re-releases, there's also a way to make it like good, you know, because like they reintroduced the Sandhawk, but they changed it up enough where it is different enough from the older version of it where there's a clear disconnect, and they improved on it, right? Because like the main thing with the Sandhawk that made it quote unquote overpowered or whatever people said is that it's like fast fire rate. Obviously, it's only used as a B delivery method. Anyone who says otherwise has no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the biggest thing with it is ammo. It's an SMG NBL, so you have basically unlimited SMG ammo. And it takes one bullet one ammo per shot, so you have basically unlimited Sandhawk shots. They fixed that by making it a different weapon type. They made it a sniper rifle, which is a lot more limited ammo.
And it's a legendary from Katagawa. It's like it's behind so many different walls at that point because I think it's Mayhem 6, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just already that seems so much more helpful on a sniper in general, that mechanic, than it did on an SMG.
Yeah. So, you know, there's good re-releases, but I feel like most of them are just like pandering and fan service, which I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of.
I have a love-hate relationship with fan service, because again, I feel like it's you'll get in trouble for not, and it's fun, and what does it hurt? But it has its place. I feel like when it cheapens the overall story, I don't like it. When it's gameplay, I don't feel like it really impacts it otherwise. Getting happy birthday emails, go away. I don't care. I'm like, what is this? This is not important. I feel
is
like...
Is it your birthday?
No, my birthday is next Saturday. Yeah, next Saturday.
Gotcha,
God, it's in a week. Oh my God, my birthday's in a week. I want to die.
Hey, stay on topic. ADHD monkey brain. Stay on topic.
The monkey brain is realizing I'm rapidly aging, and it's time for me to pick out my casket.
To die?
Yes, it's time. I need to get my affairs in order. My will's I did my taxes, but my will isn't even touched. So
that's tough.
We have 7 days. I'm cursed. With Santa. Okay, no, that's an interesting fight I want to have, which honestly I feel like we're gonna agree on too much for it to be a fight. But let's talk overrated weapons.
Ooh,
because I feel like there's so much of the same conversation I see you and me both having on a bigger scale, but I know I also have some shitty opinions that I would die on that I fully believe are correct, but I know logically aren't. But I'm wondering if you have any ones that maybe I don't know about, but also that maybe a little hot take, like you use it anyway for like speedrun purposes, but this thing sucks kind of thing.
I'm trying to think. Not really, I don't think. Because no, not really. Because I don't know. With the context of a one life, you're kind of bound by using what is powerful instead of. I mean, that's not to say that the powerful weapons aren't fun, and they can be fun, or they are fun for me at least. But I don't use like a lot of the meme weapons, right? So like there's weapons I don't even look at in a one life context, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have these kind of strong opinions. So, for example, you with the bitch, right? You swear by it.
I thought you were going to say the commerce. And I was like, listen, we were like level 12. It's fine.
No. The bitch, right? Which, I mean, objectively looking at it, it's just a worse lady fist. That's all it is. But yeah, I mean, you still swear by it, and it does work because it does have some, it's crit multiplier and whatever the hell. But, in every single, like, metric that you want to apply to it, the ladyfist just outmatches it.
Well, yeah, but I use both. And I think partly
Yeah,
that
right.
is honestly, if I objectively look at it, my logic wants to follow because I'm burning so much ammo using Hyperion and I like the rapid fire. It's helpful for me to have the different gun types, especially because I use like my meta build is Lady Fist Fibber bitch conference call, right? And so having the crit multiplier with the SMG, especially if I'm able to like make it slag or something that I don't need to worry about in my pistol, so I can use my pistol to main. But then I can, or electric even, so I can, you know, mow down surveyors or something. It makes for me way more of an impact in things like fight for your life, but also just not running out of ammo on my main gear is really important for me because I don't use, you know, the sham. I don't use, you know, drop reload kind of, you know, mechanics. And so skill issue or manufacturer loyalty, like who knows, but I never have that experience.
Doesn't save you ammo.
Well, no, but it saves, like, I suck at reloading is the thing. It's like I don't think about it going forward, and so I don't think about even like picking up gear unless it's like grenades that I need or like a launcher very specifically. If I'm like, okay, yes, I can get ammo from this or whatever. But like so many, since I made Maya, so many other Vault Hunters, it honestly may just be Sal, but I feel like everyone has one. When I'm saying this now, has like a mechanic that will let them reload. Like even Nisha has stuff that will auto reload on her tree and TPS. And because I get in position where then I'm wasting time and fight for your life, you know, reloading, or I'm doing this in the different speeds, something like a bitch that is fast and I haven't been, you know, relying on the ammo for it, and it has a fuck ton of ammo for it, way better. But I don't know how to explain other than, you know, I guess maybe skill issue. I don't even know where that would really come down to, of why in like fight for your life settings where I don't have the B and I'm going down, why things like the Unkempt Herald and the Sandhawk never get me up, but things like the bitch or the Fibber will.
I mean, the Sandhawk is a pretty obvious one because the Sandhawk is not a good gun.
We're going to talk about the Sandhawk. But I mean, that's the point when people are like, okay, we'll just use that. I'm like, at some point at different peaks, you have to be like, okay, I have my top knee. It's the right top knee. It's fast enough. It's whatever. And you have your like Hail Mary moments. But some things just aren't going to help you. And anything that tends to be, you know, rapid ammo consuming doesn't tend to work for me. Like in the multiple per shot kind of way in fight for your life. And I don't know why that tends to be what I go to.
There's like a few different things, right? With other Vault Hunters in BL2, I think all of them except for Maya have some way of getting out of fight for your life easily or more, you know.
Yeah, Maya's designed to stay out of fight for your life. It's not designed to get out of fight for your life.
Exactly. And specifically with the Herald. Obviously the Herald isn't a quote-unquote bad gun, but it's not great on Maya. Maya doesn't have any, like, neither many innate fire rate bonuses other than wreck, I suppose, which gives you like 50%. So the fire rate of the Herald just sucks. Maya doesn't have any grenade splash boosting, which the Herald is. So the damage kind of drops off. Maya doesn't have many, or any, I don't think, recoil reduction skills, which the Herald, especially the Deepa, I don't know why people simp over the Deepa so much. It's not the best version.
Yeah, the explicit tends to, the explicit was the first one that I was like, okay, I don't actively hate this one. But
because it's a fire rate bonus.
Yeah, I was like, the speed otherwise, no.
Yeah, it's not good.
And it's only used for even, like close encounters, but like, it's so fucking slow. Like, what's the point of medium range when you're like being mobbed at that point? Like something like Salvador, like especially with like running Huckleberry or something, like it makes sense with any type of weapon like that you can just like go through quickly. But like, I don't know why that trade-off, like, I don't get how it works for people or how they like it. Like, have we gaslit ourselves into this being like actually what gets us out of everything? Because I'm just like, the 6 ammo per shot, it's never worth it.
Question is if they're playing in OP levels as well, right?
I mean, true.
Because in normal mode TVHM and base UVHM, it'll get you out of fight for your life pretty easily. But once you get into the actual OP levels, it won't really.
They never patched. Really, they never patched, right? The like all the projectiles still work with the B, right? Because it's unlisted.
Some of them, yes, but it is like times 3 or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think it's just 1, or is it just 1?
I feel like they get the full damage for each one. I don't remember the double penetrating does but since that's 6 per shot.
That's just the ammo consumption. That's not what's on the card. Yeah, no. So it is 1 generally.
But when the additional projectiles aren't listed on the card, they still get the B.
Full amp.
Yeah, the full amp.
Unless it's a conference call, they fixed that.
Yeah, that is,
But that is why the Sandhawk
reason why.
Is such a good B delivery, right? Because you have it consumes 1 ammo per shot. It fires fast. It has most of its projectiles are unlisted, so the B amp gets applied to every single one of them. And how many pellets are in one of each birds? There's 6 or 5 or 7, I don't remember. Which get each full amp damage, and you shoot a 3 or 4 round burst. So that's 25, 28 pellets that get full B damage in a split second. It works. It works.
Can I ask why you tend to like the Slaga?
Fast fire rate, big mag, reliable slag chance. And it's a different type from my main damaging weapon. People have told me I could use a slag pimpernel, which would work, but it's the same type as my main damaging weapon, my pimpernel most of the time. So I would run into ammo issues, especially because they're both sniper rifles.
Mm-hmm.
And with the Slagger, for me, it's easier to spray down multiple enemies. Because with the Pimpernel, even with its outgoing projectiles, with the splitting off, they split it a very specific pattern. So it's highly unlikely that you will hit another enemy with those and slag them. Whereas with the Slagger, even though it has a 24% slag chance, you fire 3 or 4 bullets per shot as well. It consumes 1 ammo per shot, again, fast fire rate. You can slag things very easily with it.
I don't know. I can't get behind it. And I know it's good. It's just always on people's oh yeah, that's what you need. And so it always feels like one of those that I end up hoarding but not using, because I actively try to use the guns that, I should be
People
using.
tell you to use.
Yeah. And I can't, which is where it's always funny that I have people being you've tried, stop trying to make it happen. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. I'm but no, there has to be a reason that I'm just not working it. I'm convinced maybe it's something thought lock, but I don't know.
This seems unlikely.
But even just looking at the accuracy of the bitch, because the bitch also has the reduced recoil, right? And has bigger mag, not as big as the Slaga, but it is larger than anything else, and it is just as fast, I feel and a faster reload usually. If not always. I don't remember the Slaga parts that well, but the bitch tends to be a really fast reload. For me, it's a big accuracy thing. It may also just be because, as we talked about a lot, I run such an elemental Maya normally that I don't notice the slag chance as much. But a slag bitch over a Slaga, the slag bitch is going to let me stay on that gun and kill someone, and the Slaga won't.
Yeah, because most people just use the slag as
it's a Slaga swap. Yeah.
Yeah, it's what it is. It's a dedicated slag weapon.
I know, but then we have the grog, we have whatever. There are just so many dedicated slag weapons at that point. I'm why wouldn't you use something even an analytical bitch? I feel that slag is going to do more accuracy and help you more in second win situations and longer range than anything Bandit or Torg could do. I just don't see many weaknesses with stuff like the bitch, and anything that is used as a use this and swap, I tend to be allergic to a little bit. But I know it's the projectiles alone. It's it's why you need to look at it on peak. But I don't know. I prefer stuff that has a larger range, I feel
I mean, all of this boils down to preferences, right? And
no, it boils down to me being right, and it's a bad guy. No,
right. Arguing preferences seems sometimes pointless because, I'm not going to convince you that something is more fun than something else just because it is, either more widely used or quote unquote more optimal, whatever that may be. It's quite pointless to argue.
You're too diplomatic at
that
because I don't think surface level. I agree. I'm let people do what they want. I'm very let people do what they want. However, even you have influenced me with certain things in the game where I didn't enjoy before, or now I do, or I look at things in a new light, or I'm willing to try it out more, or, you know, I see the benefit more in it because it's been not explained to me, but like even shown to me in a way that feels more accessible than just like, you know, watching, you know, pro guides or playthroughs or things like that. Like just like having the conversations about stuff and be like, oh, fine, I'll try. I'm like, okay, you're right. Maybe it doesn't suck. Like the Bone Shredder's one I always end up kind of dropping. And I've had a lot of like, I've kept it and then I haven't, and then I have other stuff, but it's one of those I like tend to give more of a chance now to things. But like even I didn't use the fastball a ton. Like I had it, but I didn't use it to, you know, the way I should. I never really used it with Moxie weapons. I never, you know, I'd use on surveyors and, you know, sometimes constructors and stuff, but like it just subconsciously it's become one of my more, like it feels like a fifth weapon slot for me because it's like, nope, I need that, versus like beforehand where it's like, oh yeah, I have grenades. Oh shit, the fastball's equipped. Like kind of feeling. And so it feels like something that, yeah, okay, I get why this seems to be more of the meta now. And I like it more than some of the others, but you know, grenades I feel like are pretty cut and dry. I feel like having hot takes on grenades isn't that common because just factually, like they work or they don't. They get you a fight for your life or they don't, you know? But something like the fastball does require a strategy with it a little bit more, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, you are required to hit the thing you're wanting to hit.
You need to hit the thing, which is why I always laugh when people are like, oh, I am. And I'm like, literally, that's the point of the fastball. It's like you would not be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why, you know, for healing, people just use a Tesla because it has AoE, so you don't need to be as accurate.
I didn't realize I forgot how much I like things like Teslas until I'm replaying like my really dumb challenges on lower levels where I'm like, it'll just like annihilate things for me, like shield specifically, where I can just be like, cool, run off, I'm gonna get a breather and like get this out. But it tends to be better. What the fuck is playing right now? What the fuck?
But yeah, I mean, certainly you can always just talk about, you know, preferences and discuss the benefits of each. And, you know, you can try certain things. And if you don't vibe with them, then, you know, that's fair. I feel like in these like conversations, especially that's what really grinds my gears whenever people talk about like guns, like the Herald and the Sandhawk and the Bee. There is no best in games like Borderlands. You don't have a best.
You know what fucking sucks that I'm tired of hearing is good? The Kerr Blaster. I hate the Kerr Blaster.
God. It's such a meme on my channel at this point. It's insane. The
Kerr Blaster. It just, I do not understand.
Really say that's good?
They do. And I swear to God, it's because people just regurgitate like the one opinion they've like decided they have. And like,
I've never heard that.
I hear it all the goddamn time. And I'm like, I've never met a Torgue weapon that I really love, number one. But like, even then, like I've used like World Burn or, you know, bonus package. People are like, why are you using those? I'm like, the Torques that I tend to fuck with a little bit. No. But like the Kerr Blaster makes me enrage. I also don't really care about the interfacer. I like the overcompensator, I guess, a little more, but no one ever comes in and talks about things like that. And that's what I think is absurd when it's like we have things that require, you know, Seraph crystals. We have, you know, something that is supposed to be made that is supposed to be good without the bee, right? It's supposed to melt whatever you're doing. And people still don't talk about it and still don't use it. And
I think a big part of this is like ease of like obtainability. Because like sure, the Blaster farm sucks, like running there and whatnot, but it's still just a 1 in 10, right? Whereas with the interface, the only three ways to really get it is either you buy it in TVHM, because you cannot buy it in Seraphon as in UVHM. You fight Vorak, or you have a small chance of getting it when you kill Triple O. And even then, you need a very, like, at least somewhat specific version of it for it to actually be, you know, decent. And the overcompensator is the same thing. I mean, firstly, it's just a shitty butcher.
Yeah.
And secondly, you need to do basically everything in that DLC to even get it.
And it's just not worth it. Because you need to
beat the main quest. Yeah, exactly. It's just not worth it, especially nowadays, since you would have to give up the Tubby Spider Ant farm.
I mean, yeah, it's also just like it's helpful that I think the accessory, like, you don't have to like fuck with as much, but it just Hyperion shotguns. I stand by I always say like a under-leveled white Hyperion, pistol or shotgun is going to do better than some of this other bullshit you're going to grind for in a pinch. I feel like things like really outside of the conference call, most like Hyperion shotguns you can really just kind of put in a hat and just kind of like drawing you can find benefits from. Like even like I don't like the face time. I don't tend to like quads from Hyperion just because the reload tends to kill me a little bit. But
the developments, I feel like the mag is too small, the reloads are too slow.
Yeah, it's not there. And also like the gimmicky guns with like things sucking are always like whatever. But I like the concept of it again, like the purpose of that gun being introduced, even though it's literally just a butcher. Fine, I'll take it. But when it ends up always being like, oh, get the baby maker, which the baby maker took years to drop for me. It took me literally until recently to get a first baby maker. And now I've been like,
It's a 1 in 10, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. And it never fucking dropped. And this is what I'm talking about with my RNG. Like when people are like, oh, I've been farming this bee forever. I'm like, no, it literally took me weeks of like 4 to 8 hours a day farming for a bee to get my first bee. Like it took so long. And when I got it, I'm like, this was worth it. And even though it wasn't even a good one, probably. I don't remember anything about it. It was not a mallet one. That's all I know. And it just after that it unlocked where literally it was like 2 days later. I remember I was working because I was working from home and I was going between stuff and I had the bee. I'm like, okay, but I really want to play now that I have the bee. And I was over by Saturn and I went up to the chest and a fucking bee was sitting in the chest. And it was like from that point on, they were just like throwing themselves at me. And I'm like, what did I do to you? Baby Maker was the same where I was so desperate for it. I think I finally got it in the hunt as my first one. Like it was somewhat recently. And then I was just kind of like, okay, this is fine. Like it didn't change me from the bitch or anything like that. But the thing is with things like that, I don't care about people being like, oh, these guns, because they're not the ones people die on the hill for. The Pimpernel, I finally got behind because of things like Peak. And I will admit I judged it because I judge Malawan snipers in general. It is the exception to the rule. And I also just that DLC, the grind, that any read-only farming tends to grind my gears a little bit, to use your old man saying.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about snipers, especially like non-unique, because, for those people who don't know, for some reason, if you have like blue uniques, let's take the Lady Fist, for example, or I guess the element applies to every class of weapons. It is always a 1 in 14 to get a specific element, with weapons that can roll non-elemental as well as elements. So Lady Fist, it's a 1 in 14 to get a fire Lady Fist. Specific accessories like bladed, fire rate, or damage. On blue non-uniques, blue uniques, sorry. That's a 1 in 27. So it's a 1 in 27 to get a specific accessory, with no accessory being obviously more common. That is not the case for sniper rifles. Obviously on the Pimpernel, the elements stat doesn't apply because it's Malawan, right? Always elemental, but the accessory is all equally weighted, so it's just a 1 in 5. So which makes it, I think, more accessible to get a good version compared to the Lady Fist.
I literally I agree with all that. I pulled up a list because I was trying to find like one of those, dumb clickbait sites that get everything wrong of like the best weapons so I could like get mad. And instead, oh god, where did it just go? I got to an article about how the Avenger is one of the best weapons in the game. And I'm just like, and this isn't even like a clickbait article, this is just like a form thing, which no shade, I guess, but how?
Again, thing about best, there is no best.
I guess it's good for spray and pray a little bit.
It used to be good back at OP8. It used to be good on Axton for some raid boss, Axton and Krieg, I suppose, for some raid boss speed kills.
I mean, I've also never utilized TDORs for their reload damage.
Yeah.
And maybe I should, but I feel like maybe I would on a different Vault Hunter.
It's like the thing with like
maybe
TDR
Krieg,
reloads.
I feel like.
Yeah, but the thing with like TDR reloads is like you give up quite a lot for like one chunk of damage, which most often is not worth the like ammo consumption you have.
Yeah, like
or you have to invest into it.
I wouldn't want to waste that for even. Granted, again, I'm a Krieg noob at this point, but like for things like I think it's Bloodbath with the weapon damage. increase for kills with explosions or whatever, I feel like it's just wasting my grenades at that point. Like that, because people argue me on like the minimal percentages some of Maya's boosts will give me or like whatever. Like even talk health regen, because I feel like she has very weak health regen comparatively, especially early on. But, you know, what you're getting out of this isn't that worth it. And that's where I really have to look at a lot of the trees and why I really do like the pre-sequel trees with the stacks. Once I got over the math of it, it makes sense to me. Like, I think it's a lot of fun and makes a lot of flexibility. But things like in 2, when it's like, okay, that gives me like a 0.5% chance or one shot per every this. And I'm like, that stack, it's not like Anarchy where I feel like I could like be like, okay, I see farming this and like go doing a thing. Like the risk isn't worth the reward. But I don't know. I'm not a Krieg person, so
the thing with Blood Explosion, I think you meant, right?
I think it's that tree, but it's one of the. I think I'm gonna Google it. Isn't there a Bloodbath one?
Bloodbath, yeah. That's killing grenade, rocket, or shield nova damage, increase gun damage.
Yeah.
Per stack. But yeah, you know, that's why people. There's like specific setups you do on Krieg where you first take a damage over time.
Yeah.
Grenades to, you know, get your bloodlust stacks, and then you get a grenade kill to get your bloodbath for like massive damage boosts.
I feel I mean, that's why like things like Blood Explosion make sense to me. But like speaking of Krieg and very specific builds like that, which I think are probably a fuck ton of fun. I need to brave it one day, and it's just again too much like relearning stuff that it's intimidating. Things like the Rough Rider, I fucking hate. I hate it. It's something that is that specific of a use. It's just not worth the gimmick for me. Even things like take the hygiene build, like the, you know, all the effervescent, you know, mouthwash things and Fight for Sanctuary that you can use on a very niche Maya thing to get to the things like that make more sense to me, even if it's so forgettable and not going to be in that like public like thought tank. Basically, it's not going to be a common thing that people just stumble on. Something like the Rough Rider, I feel like just offends me, and I don't know why. I've never really used it. It's not like I was ever duped by it. The mechanic of it just pisses me off.
Wait, why?
I don't know. And people aren't like, oh, go get that, because it's one of those I always try to get. I like it, and I don't know why I like it vaguely more in 3, other than the fact I just don't go down as much, I guess. But like, I don't know. I feel like I go down a lot, but from DOT, which someone made fun of me once for saying DOT and said dot, but I'm like, it's just always been DOT to me. But damage over time, I get taken down by a lot, and it's still just, it's not going to get me out of it. I would rather have the amp damage. I'd rather have anything else. I'd rather have elemental resistance. I'd rather have absorb anything else than that.
Yeah, but that's like Maya, right? But with characters like Krieg and Salvador a little bit, you want to health stack.
I know,
as much as possible. Right.
I know, and if you're doing like more defensive build, like you have things like the Grog, and you're doing shit like it. I get it makes more sense. And so many people have skills. Like Maya just has like fleet, I think, with the shields depleted. So I understand that. And I think it's a really creative thing. Like I think the actual design of it, really unique. Do you know the meme, none pizza left beef?
No.
There was a thing on Tumblr, like probably 10 years ago, maybe longer ago, that someone had ordered where you can like, when you order a pizza and you can customize it, like I want mushrooms on the right side or whatever. Someone had selected to get rid of everything on the pizza, except beef, but only on the left. And so when the pizza came, it literally is just like a baked crust that's like cut, that is like literally just crust something on it, and just chunks of beef that aren't even like pizza sized beef thrown into the box on the left side. And it enrages me. And I don't know why, where it's become a meme with my friends where they will like see something that reminds them of it or a throwback of it and send it to me. And I still have this visceral reaction. That is the only thing I can think about with Rough Rider. And I don't know why. There's no logic train of thought for it. This pizza didn't hurt me. I didn't get sent this pizza. It's just illogical. And I understand, like working in food service, I totally get it. That's probably what someone I worked with would have done at that point. But I don't know if it's a neurodivergence being like, but that's not.
I mean, sometimes things just don't make sense, right? Sometimes the vibe is just not there, and I feel like that's as good as an explanation as any. I feel like
I just like. Oh, I think also just because I think it's honestly only because I've sunk so many hours into Maya. Something like the Rough Rider, it just gets rid of so many skills. Because like, what's the point of then like stacking to ward or inertia? And I used to run Backdraft and Blight Phoenix and stuff a lot, but like a lot just loses utility. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like the only other like back and forth I had was Gage, and like people like Gage and Maya, it's not the choice for it, right?
Yeah. No.
And so my introduction.
You don't use the Rough Rider on Maya.
No, and you don't use it on Gage at all. But
yeah,
it's still. I don't know. It's probably just me getting recommended stuff that just I know won't work for like the thing I'm doing where I'm like, and now it's just whatever. But every time I see it, because the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And I like looked it up because I had to drop it. I was like, well, what is this? And why is it 0 capacity? What's your special little text here? Tell me. And I was like, that would be very high skill to use, I feel like. And then I just never try to build with it. But instead, I've internalized this hatred for it. And I have no real reason why.
Yeah, like I said, sometimes things just happen, right? And you can't really do much about it.
You're too well adjusted. Wait,
am I not toxic enough for you yet?
You're toxic to me. You're really mean to me all the time. I don't know what
That's not true.
You called me a forehead.
Yeah.
No,
because you were one.
I was one, but that's beside the point. No, I think oh my God, this article literally, I was about to be, let me rant about the Ruby real quick. And they had a picture of Moxie. And it's like, oh, they're talking about the Ruby. And it says Ruby of Moxie fame, but it's a picture of her pulling out the bad touch, or no, the good touch. And I'm like, no, so close. But no, I want to talk about the freaking bad touch. People got so pressed when we were making our tier list that those were higher than, F basically. But I
think that the discussion sparked because I posted my tier list where I put them higher than the Sandhawk.
They should be. You get more benefit out of them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but that's going back towards, the people obsessing over the Sandhawk for some reason.
Well, I also think there's a reason that, I don't think we're Remotely to the same effect, like how we don't have the Lady Fist and TPS because it would be broken, right? I think there's a reason you typically can't get the bad touch at later levels, because having an always corrosive thing with a crit damage and Moxie gun, like I feel like at that point, you could find better meta weapons, you could do that, but especially if someone's just running through like TVHM, UVHM, if you don't get it till then for your first few playthroughs, fine, but like that could be a pretty exploited weapon, I think, at later levels. We didn't have to do it, so we don't have to figure out how, Again, I say I used to run a cat mod sometimes and things like that, but something like Peak, I feel like that would just be more effective for me to like or not even compartmentalize, but like reduce how many things I need to swap out. Because I'm like, okay, if I need Moxie gun on me, if I need this, but if I also have the fastball, because it works with stuff like that. I really think that there is a lot of benefit, but the way it cuts off after Damn Fine Rescue, I feel like it's the game going, we don't want people to have this. The difference is the game's released so many new guns since its inception that it's just been outclassed at this point. But I think initially it really, it would have been great, because I even remember, I think first UVHM or something, I was so pressed that I couldn't get another. I was so pressed about it. And I was like, that's exactly what I need. I don't need a fire. Why would I need a fire? Everything is armored and shield. I don't need this. And, but it carried me. Interestingly enough, if you cheat the system a little bit, you can get more than one. Oh yeah, I remember on stream one day, I had accidentally done that on PlayStation, where I have no idea what happened, and I just go and it was like an OP2, whatever it was, bad touch. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't have any mods right now. I didn't restart this. Yeah, I don't know what series of events.
What you need to do is tip Moxie until she gives it to you. Travel away, travel back, and then it'll be floating. And then you can pick it up, and then you can get another one, because it doesn't count as you having picked it up from her.
But that isn't even what I did. It was just like years later, I just get one. And I'm like, I don't know what glitch I did. I would need to go back. Did I save that bot? I need to go back and figure it out. Because I remember,
Game.
I think
Game
even
is being game.
honestly, yeah. I thought you said being gay. I'm like, yeah, honestly, it was rewarding me. It was like, here you go.
I mean, maybe that as well.
No, I think even Moby was there for a second. Because I think I remember him going, how did you just do that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but speaking about the bad touch, the bitch had a 75% unique crit damage bonus. The bad touch has a 70% one, so it's similar in terms of crit damage. You know, the only thing you're lacking is the sustained accuracy.
I know you can get multiple of them before rescuing Roland, but at that point, literally, I think the highest like level 12 or something like that, or I forget what level you're actually supposed to be. I always do that fucking under level, but I think you're definitely higher than that.
17.
17, yeah, because I was like, no, I think because we got people playing it for the first time right now. They were like, oh yeah, we went to the gulag because we were dying a lot. I'm like, oh yeah, it took me a while to realize that was an optional thing. So I feel that it'll force you to level up. It's good. You're fine. It's like, yeah, we got there at like level 13. I'm like, oh yeah, you'll be fine. You're fine. But then I think about the fact that I start the Bloodwing challenge at level 13 for normal mode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, huh. Which I felt so fucking validated the other day. This is a segue and I don't even care. I was rewatching one of Gas's videos. Oh God, I don't even remember which it was. It was one of his ridiculous, can you...
challenges.
Yeah, can you beat with just this? It may have even been the gub because Telepath my girlfriend hadn't seen any of it. And so we turn it on and I'm not really paying attention to it because I'm trying to clean and get to the part with Bloodwing. And he's just going off about how fucking insane that boss fight is. Without a doubt, hardest boss in the base game. Here's this stuff. Here's everything that can go wrong with her. Here's this. I'm like, and not even listing everything that can go wrong with her, right? And just like how this with the gub, and then once you're in the corrosive phase, it's like fucking impossible, and then you can't cheat it because then you're always dying. It's undodgeable attacks. I'm like, oh, did you say undodgeable? Is that what I'm hearing right now? Because it's just like the amount of shit I get. I'm like, when you go in with the wrong gear, unprepared, it's going to fuck you up. Like, yeah. Oh my God, I felt so validated. I can't. I literally messaged him. I was like fucking midnight. I was like, I'm eating Taco Bell. I should be cleaning. Instead, I have this on, and I need you to know I love you right now. And he's like, you sound like you're vibing. And I'm like, I am, buddy.
Yeah, see, I never ran into those issues because, as I mentioned before, I played Borderlands 1 first. And for those who don't know, Borderlands 1 is very, very punishing if you are even slightly underleveled. You will get messed up, so that game really ingrained into me to stay on level for the main missions, and I brought that over into BL2, so I never really ran into issues with any of the bosses really, because like if you're on level and you have even somewhat okay gear, meaning anything above like a white banded AR, you will be fine. And since none of the bosses, or like the main campaign bosses in BL2, are really mechanically challenging, I don't know, I never had really an issue with them. So like that was when I first met you and saw you doing the Bloodwing challenge and stuff. That way of playing is so very foreign to me. It's insane.
I love it. I think that's why it's hard for people to wrap their brain around, which Bloodwing challenge is just going in as underleveled as possible with every Vault Hunter, the exact same build, like gear wise, and seeing who can beat her the fastest with the least amount of deaths with the least meta gear, basically playing like you're underleveled and don't know the game, and gets more and more absurd rules with each TVHM and UVHM. Which we start UVHM this week and I am nervous, but it will be fine. No, I'm excited for UVHM because I think it's going to be totally fine because it's going to be the first time I'm on level because UVHM. However, we're starting it intentionally low, and we did the wheel where we put in some bad weapons and decent weapons, and we spun it to see what gear I have, and now I have to draw out of a hat who we're starting with, but it's literally a bunch of grenades and things like that. So I'm like, this is gonna be fun.
Melee only.
Let's go. God no, God kill me. Luckily we have like one or two things, but I definitely am gonna cry. But something like that feels really foreign to people, where people just have a really hard time wrapping their head around it. And they're like, well, just level up or you should be using this. I'm like, yes, we all know mechanically how this would be easy and fine. Because the first UVHM I played through, and it was like maybe my second or third UVHM playthrough where I actually like had like updated my gear and stuff like that. But I hadn't hadn't gone online, hadn't been grinding anything, hadn't been going for like the B or grog or anything. But I just had gotten better, right? And I remember in TVHM, Bloodwing taking me like, it was like I rage quit for a while, but it was like a week on and off of just like, okay, I have to run back through wildlife. Nope, don't have it in me today, not doing it. And so I'm like, okay, just play a little bit, restart the campaign tonight, just go to bed, it'll be fine, you'll get frustrated. And I like mowed down Wilhelm in like 10 seconds. And I was like, okay, let me just see what Bloodwing's like. And I got there and it was literally like how it normally is, where it's just, she doesn't even phase in between everything at the point. You're just like waiting and like take her down. And I was so fucking mad. Like I was just like, are you kidding me? Like how is it that she goes from this unforgiving to this, you just like mow her down easy? And I feel like there should be a balance for that in games, because I don't like feeling like just a god I run through, like take your OP character to normal level to get gear, you walk in a room and people die because anything off you bounces and they're killed, right? And so I was like, this doesn't make sense to me, that there's just like this no in between for what is like a grinding, grueling fight that is rewarding and one that you can just take her down instantly. However, it made me feel way better realizing how many glitches there are and things like that. And I want to go back to like younger me playing these games going, hey, maybe you should stop grinding this owner level because she's broken. She's resistant to everything. She's not landing anymore because she's glitched to leave the arena. And it's a bunch of things that I didn't know. And even, other streamers will be like, oh, like, I want to do this, but like, I can't. I feel like it would just infuriate me to play it that way because it's just so different. I'm like, but that's why it's fun doing it, because it goes against everything we've like ingrained to play. But that is how casual gamers play. And that's always the argument I end up having is I'm like, dude, when I introduce Borderlands specifically to my friends and they're playing through, even take 3, they usually start on 3 because it's just accessible and that's, we could do that and it'll be fine. Crossplay now, but you know what I mean? But like they would hop on there and they're not even clocking what level they are, gear, like they are not looking at stuff at this. And it's just, I feel like we forget because it is like second nature of like, well, yeah, why are you using a Hyperion grip? Like it doesn't, like whatever, that people just don't play games that way. And that is a vast majority of the player base. Like we are the minority that is watching this on Twitch and doing stuff, right? And so definitely. It's always interesting because people want to argue. I'm like, no, but that is literally how I played the game. Like I knew what level I was looking at stuff like that, like because I was coming in as like gamer and looking at stuff. But no other games I play have that type of mechanic. Like take Far Cry. We've talked about doing Far Cry and stuff. I don't feel like I'm avoiding side missions or just going main mission doing whatever in that, because everything lore-wise feels connected, but also there's not the kind of acquisition system like that, right? And most games, I feel like, are just like, hey, you have enough things you can level up. Last of Us, you get enough parts, you do stuff. You can, when you get to a bench, you can do that. You find a new weapon that unlocks this thing. You don't have to keep upgrading your weapons. You then upgrade your character. Your character gets better at crafting or something like that. And it doesn't feel like it's the same type of like the boss is level 21, the mission is level 19, and you are level 10. This is a problem. It just, you go through. First time I played Spider-Man on PS4, I was dying a ton at the first boss. And then when I went back to New Game Plus, I was like, oh, I did this like instantly. Got it. Yeah. Cool. Learn mechanics. And I think people really forget that it's one, okay to not be good at something when you first start it. But then two, that Stalker. Yeah, right. It's like I hate that. I hate not being good at things, which is why I suck at starting new things. But it's just a foreign mechanic. And I don't have a single friend, no matter how much of a gamer or how casual they are when they've started Borderlands, where their inherent thing is, well, no, I'm too underleveled for that. Or, I don't know, could this gun be better? They're like, oh, I like this one. It did me fine with this one. Like, they'll know to match the elements, they'll know whatever, and it just doesn't come naturally. And I feel like that experience of the first time you're playing this, because playing it solo for the first time too, Wilhelm solo, underlevel, no corrosive, no electric, what are you going to do? You're gonna die a lot.
Yeah.
And
the thing with BL2 or like Borderlands games specifically, the game is very opaque with its underlying mechanics and systems, right? Because other than the info texts on the load screens, or Claptrap talking to you once and saying, hey, that enemy is over leveled, which is the dialogue you get once and then never again.
Yep. Usually when you first get to wildlife.
Yeah. You don't really get told mechanics, because you have some things like the Claptrap secret stash mission, which tells you about the stash, and you have Marcus's mission, right, which is meant to tell you or teach you about the elements and stuff. But underlying systems like farming, you don't get told that. You get told that there's like, you can get legendaries and stuff, but how do you get them? Where do you get them? Which ones can you get? What are they?
Dude,
you don't get told any of that.
The first legendary I got was a Madhouse. And I remember it dropping and me being, why is this so expensive? And this, like, why? I did not clock it. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a different rarity. It's orange. But like, I truly hadn't looked up anything. And since it's a Madhouse and it didn't do what I don't like ARs into, I'm just like, okay, is this something I'm going to need for later? Is this like what I should have been using? But it's also like not that high of a level.
Bad.
Like, yeah, I couldn't wrap my head around bad legendaries. So I felt like I had to be missing something, which I do like that Borderlands has their meme kind of guns and their worst guns and things like the gum, because it does make it feel very true to the world. Like, it's one of my favorite things they do. But yeah, like, had no fucking idea.
Yeah. And I mean, even the whole concept of rarities, like, I'm sure they're used in like quite a lot of games at this point, but again, this is something that doesn't get explained to you. And, you know, you could open up a discussion whether or not it has to be explained.
Yeah.
Or whether you want to leave it to the player to find that out. But, you know, the fact of the matter is that it doesn't get explained. So, I don't know, I can see why and how it maybe even would get overlooked.
Yeah.
And, you know, stuff like the level scaling and, again, all these underlying mechanics, nothing gets explained. Like, I bet if you would ask, like, a lot of, even people who played the game a lot, I don't think they would be able to tell you what the level scaling is.
Yeah.
And like, the percentage.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, like, no one tells you that. And no one, I mean, again, does it really matter to know that? Maybe not. But, like, you know, it's an example.
Yeah. No, I think that there's plenty that it's hard to, things that feel so inherent to you now because it's just
2,500 hours into the game.
Yeah. It's I think it's hard to remember that that's just not, one, either something people care about, or two, that people would know if they haven't looked it up. Like, I was talking about deleted audio files the other day, and someone was like, who even was the first to find them? Like, do people like comb for this stuff in every game? And it's just, I think when you're outside the bubble, it's just shocking to people. And it was also, it's, you know, random, but like Borderlands itself has so many unique things. Like, I was talking to a dev of the Tomb Raider reboots at WonderCon this year, and he was talking about just different things stolen from games. And he said that they took the skill tree kind of concept from Borderlands. And I sat there, I'm like, was Borderlands the first to like do it like that? And he was like, yeah, like, where it wasn't just like this skill unlocked this skill. It was, you could have X amount of points in any of these above, and then this would unlock, kind of thing. And I didn't realize Borderlands was the first to like coin that and really develop that. And so much that goes into these games are made uniquely for this world, that I think applying other game logic or even older game logic to it doesn't work. Like, I saw someone arguing the other day that, you know, one is both, like Borderlands 1 is both too easy and too hard at times. And I'm like, I feel like what you're saying, if you're on level, fine. Like, if you were under level, no, don't start the DLC, don't do anything. And it's just, I didn't play that first. So I didn't have that ingrained in me, but because of that, it's not as fun for me.
Yeah, right.
But I'm a story bitch, so I don't know. You go on that forever, but it's just
Borderlands are one story.
listen. It remembered it had a plot about halfway through the game.
Yeah, I mean, most of it's told through reading, so you know.
And a lot of old games used to do that, which is why I don't really fault it. I just think Borderlands was such a happy accident for the franchise at this point, because it's like the style. Even I was one of the devs was talking about on Twitter the other day how even the damage numbers you see coming from people was a bug in one of the things they were doing, and they liked it so much they decided to keep it. And I'm like, so much of Borderlands I feel like happened like that. Like the cell shading style, which you turn off because you're a sociopath, I swear. But I love it so much.
It's not really cell shading.
It's not, no, but when I listen, the amount of times I've been in people's chat and people ask something about cell shading, or they go, oh, I want to cell shade like in the Borderlands style because they're talking about cosplay. And I have a whole autistic fucking paragraph typed of me being like, well, actually, so here's what cell shading. So if you think of Legend of Zelda and like go on this whole thing, actually, and I delete it every time because I'm like, no one gives a fuck and you know what they're talking about, which is my invitation to everyone in, chat always being like, actually, I'm like, yeah, maybe we are all on the same page, buddy. It's fine. But no, every time I want to, I have to physically bite my tongue at cons if I'm in Borderlands cosplay. They're like, oh my God, the cell shading must take forever. And I'm like, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say, well,
don't be that person.
Technically, it's not cell shading. So what's really interesting, I'm like, they do not care. But that was an accident. At least the myth of it is true. And I feel like so much of Borderlands 1 could have felt like just like a Fallout competitor, and instead it felt like it had a personality. And two, I think that's why people just fucking love it so much, because it took itself seriously, but also let itself like not
run wild.
Yeah. And that balance of that, like, I feel like TPS was really expanding on, and the original Tales. Like I always say, I feel like 1 and the DLCs were its own little thing. And then 2, TPS, and Tales, not even so much the 2 DLCs, but those 3 were its own tone. And now 3 Wonderlands New Tales are like approaching a new different tone.
New era of Borderlands.
Yeah, and I'm curious because I feel like that they all didn't necessarily cohesively go together, but they did. But Sam, who was the head writer for Guns, Love, and Tentacles, and came in on 3 and, all that stuff, just got promoted to narrative director. And so I'm really curious where a lot of this is going, because I feel like the writers I pay attention to are very like knee deep in what is canon, what is not. I don't know. I think that there's so much from Borderlands that both in the lore and the gameplay really got to go wild after 2, where they were like, oh shit, this is something. Because clearly 1 was, amazing and loved. They made 2, they did all that, but I don't think anyone could have expected what 2 became. No. I say that all the time as like, there was a script I wrote years ago that was in development right before COVID, RIP. But it was this trilogy. I was like, well, maybe it'll be a pilot in a series. But the whole point was my character, who was like the lead in this, dies at the end of the first one, and I don't come back. Because I was like, I'm going to write myself out, and this is the thing, and this is the story. And the moment it started getting development and we fleshed it out, and I wrote the sequel and all this stuff, I'm like, fuck, she needs to still be here. So how do I now change what's been established in this graphic novel and everything else to not necessarily retcon this, but be like, oh no, I planned this the whole time. Like, how do I need to completely scrap everything, or can we make this work? And I feel like people really underestimate how much of that is that 2 followed a very specific 10-year ago game structure, because it would have been in development, 13, 15 years ago, of, hey, here's bad guy, here's boss, they're dead, here's NPCs, they have missions, go on, because there's not that much to it. But when people became so rabid about it, we didn't expand it. Like, we don't have DLCs like we have for 3 and 2. We had these one-off non-canon DLCs that are, fun sometimes, but they don't add anything,
Yeah, they're too disconnected from the main game.
Yeah, there's no antagonists other than, Hector, if you take that, and technically like Scarlet and stuff, but it doesn't feel the same. Everything's, then there's a vault monster or raid boss, and then you get stuff and there's loot and it's done. And it's still very formulaic, but I think at that point they were able to go, hey, let's see where this is expanding, and could go whatever. So did they kill Jack too early? Who cares at this point? They stretched out the games, they got plenty, but now they're at the point where, okay, what worked in 2? And what can we now develop the franchise we want to have? Which is why I find it really funny when people get really pressed about some stuff in the newer games. And again, I'm a big person of, just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's bad. Like, not everything is like for you, but it's okay to not like things, right? But people get so pressed about some of this stuff in 3 and Wonderlands, and New Tales and everything, but specifically 3 is where I always see the yelling about. And it's about stuff that I feel like they genuinely did not care about in 2 at all because no one talks about it. And so they'll be like, oh, well, like there are too many echoes. And I'm like, then don't collect them. Like there's just not, there's so many takes. I don't know. I just think anything, if it hasn't evolved from what it was 10 years ago, is probably missing something. But I would be very excited if this had been something I created and it unexpectedly became this massive cult game where I got to then develop a franchise for it. I would go, cool, what can we now retroactively flesh out or change or improve upon? And what can we keep for nostalgia? And I feel like there's no grace really with the fact that there are humans making this game and they want to make a good game.
RE, wasn't it that they got like death threats and shit like that?
It's insane. It's freaking insane. There's like every type of remake lately has been having stuff like that. And I
just mainly heard it with like the Wonderlands release when that got pushed back due to COVID. Same with like the Cyberpunk release.
Dude, people are unforgiving of Cyberpunk. I know you'll need to go to bed soon, but I want to talk about Cyberpunk. But, no, like people are so unforgiving with that. And I don't know if I'm just like, you could pour soup in my lap and I'd probably apologize to you kind of person. But like, I expect games to have bugs when they come out. Game breaking, no. But like, there are things that are going to be missed. Things have patches, you know? Like, talk about The Last of Us launch, things like that. Like, there are things that, no, I would be disappointed in a game. But people who have not ever returned to Cyberpunk and have, like, completely been like, this is the worst thing. I am starting this campaign. I need a refund. Fuck you. Fuck your job. Fuck this company. Like, death threat level online reaction to this. When I'm like, the game's totally playable. Like, I don't... Also, that's just absurd overreaction. And like, but it's just amazing to me that people are so quick to judge their first impression of something when I'm like, I don't know anything. And it may be just because movies have to be like this because they're out there and then that's what's out there. But like, I don't know anything that gets released to the product that's like a public that doesn't then have reactions to it where then they, you know, pivot and adjust and address, you know, like softwares always have updates. Games always have updates. I don't know. People are really, I don't know.
The main thing that comes to mind there in terms of movies is the Sonic movie, right? Where the studio basically are bullied into changing the design.
Well, that's why I think they're smart to not fucking release anything for the Borderlands movie. I think until they are ready, do not, we have had that one leaked set picture. And that is it. And that was when they were doing reshoots in LA. But I just had to explain to someone the other day that reshoots doesn't mean a movie is doomed. It just means they're getting pickups. Like every movie you've ever seen has pickups. They all have reshoots. Like there's ADR. Every shitty movie I have been in has had an ADR or a pickup session. Every single one. And every good movie. Like there's just whatever. People are unforgiving with a lot. And I think of that Sonic thing a ton because it worked. They bullied him into doing it. And I'm almost surprised they didn't bully Chris Pratt into a different voice from Mario. Like, that's how mean things can be online. And I'm like, I think no matter, even if the Borderlands movie got a trailer dropped today and it was absolutely perfectly like the game, visually, tonally, everyone looked fine. Kevin Hart was 8 feet tall, whatever happened, people would still bitch about it.
Yeah, of course.
And so at the point, like, you got to feel confident in what you're releasing to ignore all that.
Yeah. The thing is, I have a couple of thoughts, not just to that, but like the releases which you mentioned before with Cyberpunk. I have some very specific thoughts on this Cyberpunk release specifically. But in terms of like the movie, so just stuff in general, people want to be upset.
Yeah.
Right. They are actively searching for something to be mad about. So it doesn't matter what you do, someone will always complain about it. So might as well just do what you want. That's not just general life advice, but in terms of like releasing pieces of media. But like going back to the Cyberpunk release, there's this weird dichotomy, I feel like, with people in the like video gaming scene where on the one hand, they want like their like the game to be released as soon as possible. And like get like absurdly mad about like pushbacks on like the release date, but on the other hand, they like after bullying them the studio into like releasing it as soon as possible. They get angry that the game releases in like a broken state. Like, what do you expect?
Literally, that's the issue with crunch. And also, what the fuck was I gonna say? Leaks. That's the issue with leaks, where it's just like you're ruining the experience for yourself, or you're going in judging. Like, no spoilers, but like Last of Us 2 leaks made me. I feel like I didn't have that strong of an opinion on it because I just wasn't really paying attention to anything about it. Like, I'm very much like, just don't leak stuff, don't be a dick, like whatever. But like, we all laugh at, you know, Marvel being so secretive about stuff, right? Like there's a meme to it almost at this point, but I feel like people take it as like catnip from like, you know, some person trying to break into security or whatever, like be like, I can do this, look at this, for like their 10 minutes of internet clout. But like, you significantly impact the release of a game, the production of a game, so many things when something is leaked, especially if it's not a current leak, because you have no idea what's going on behind that. And it just makes the game suffer. It makes, you know, harder crunch. There's just so much that goes into it that I genuinely get so frustrated. But that was my thing with Last of Us 2, where stuff got leaked and then people just immediately were like, fuck this. Yeah. And that impacted their experience, where I think Last of Us 2 is one of the best narratives I've ever experienced. I had to stop playing for a few weeks. Like, I was so upset halfway through the game, right? More than that, a few times. Like, I was just like, I need to walk away. I know what it's doing. And I can't do this right now. And I would come back to it, and it still has not left me in a way that I didn't expect them to be able to do after one. And not even lack of faith in Naughty Dog or anyone, but it was just, one was so impactful for me that, you know, the sequel's never as good, right? And it just really, really makes me sad that people are missing a lot of it because they decided a leak is how they're going to feel, or someone online said they hated it, so now they hate it, and they're not even going to try it. And granted, you're going to have people who refuse to do stuff anyway, but that's my thing with like the pressure to release, and why I think they're smart, where Naughty Dog was one of the first studios to come out and be like, we're not announcing games until we're close to launch anymore. Which sucks for building hype, but they don't need to. Like, they have name recognition, it's fine. But it's why I laugh every time people are like, well, if we get a 4, and I'm like, we're going to get a Borderlands 4. They're clearly making it actively right now. They are hiring things. Like, this has been in development. But you're insane. It would be silly
not to.
Yeah, but I'm like, but you're insane if you think that they're going to give us a teaser for it this year to then be like, cool, we'll see you in 3 years, and then have you guys having your hot takes on it, you know, the entire time. Like, you're going to do it anyway, but like, why open yourself up to then, you know, leaks and the pushback and, you know, the pressure that then creates from crunch, because people are unforgiving when something gets pushed.
Yeah. Were you in the community back before Borderlands 3 released, when there was this creator, I forgot their name, and they got banned, I think, and Gearbox sent people to their house because they made like their entire channel about leaking stuff for BL3?
My God, no.
Do you not know about this?
I don't know about this. Give me the tea. God.
What is I don't remember much. It was like so long ago. All right, hang on. Let me see if I can find it.
Did Randy Pitchford show up to someone's house?
Yeah, here. It's an IGN video, but I guess it'll...
Oh my God. How the fuck did I not know about this? Probably because I avoid leaks.
Who was the creator? Yeah, against YouTuber... who shared, 2K Games defends necessary actions against YouTuber who shared Borderlands 3 leaks. 2K representative declined to comment on whether private investigators contracted by his parent company were indeed sent to Submeadows' house. Instead, 2K representative told The Verge the company will take necessary actions to defend against leaks and infringement of intellectual property to not only potentially impact the business and partners. The information he's sharing about the situation is incomplete and in some cases untrue, the representative said. Not only were many of his actions illegal, but they were negatively impacting the experience of other content creators and our fans in anticipation for the game.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It's crazy that you weren't.
That's what I mean. That's genuinely what I mean when I just like didn't go on Reddit and shit.
It wasn't on Reddit, it was on YouTube.
Well, yeah, but like when people are like, oh, you like these builds or whatever, like I was making Borderlands cosplays.
Yeah.
I was doing stuff. I just wasn't in the online space for it. That's insane. I mean, I know a lot of stuff. Like I nitpick what I feel like is and I understand clickbait, but I feel like there's a popular trend right now to shit on Borderlands within the Borderlands community to have people go, yeah, you're right. It's doomed. And I don't get that. I really don't. And that's why I'm like, I don't want them to announce stuff too close because I don't want to risk stuff like that. I don't want, I don't want leaks. I don't want these bad takes. I don't want whatever. Like, just let people get hype and, you know, experience the game. Like, you and me talked about this with the Cyberpunk DLC, where I was like, I'm so excited. And you were like, you know, just like, don't get your hopes up kind of thing, like the expectations. Yeah. I'm like, see, that's the smart, collected way to do it because you're a well-adjusted person. However, I can get excited for it and, you know, be disappointed and move on with my life. Or I can get excited for it and be, yes, that was worth it. Like, it's not going to take away my love for the game if that's not, you know, exciting, if it doesn't turn out to be good. But I feel like putting as much behind it as they are and knowing how the initial game dropped, it has to, like, they wouldn't be putting out something that they thought would have a negative reaction after they managed to salvage the brand name, basically. And so I'm excited. And also, like, I think Edgerunners really, really pumped some stuff into it.
I need to watch that still. I watched it.
Yeah. I need to watch it. I still haven't watched Arcane, which I know everyone's like, oh my God. But
I don't care about League of Legends.
I don't either, but I know it's a fantastic show. Like, it was like literally like Emmys, like award, like it was just like everywhere. And there was a thing where all the Borderlands cosplayers basically started cosplaying Arcane because there's clearly overlap and it's like queer and, you know, I really love sister stories and there's a bunch of stuff to it where I'm just like, I know I will like this. And my brain is just going, not allowed. Nope, not allowed.
Not yet.
And I don't know why, but I always miss the boat on stuff like that because of it. But God, that's insane. I cannot imagine.
Yeah, I sent you the link. You can read up on it some more if you want.
I'm absolutely. This is gonna be my click.
I remember that because I remember I actually followed that channel back when that was happening. And I vividly remember, I don't know why that is currently such a core memory, but I remember watching his video about like the home investigation shit, having it on my phone while playing the, Lost in the Dark Far Cry 5 DLC.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's such a core memory, but I vividly remember that.
Jesus Christ, this is insane. I mean, like that, even like, I know BioShock 4 has had some stuff like that too, where things get leaked and people have to no longer have an account or they don't work there anymore and things like that. Like it's very much things that are kept so intentionally, you know, quiet. I feel like it's only going to benefit everyone in the long run. And I get the excitement for it. But because it's the people who pick up a book and then flip to the last page of the book because they need to know what happens first because they're so anxious about it. Like that happened a lot when the Harry Potter books were coming out. I remember at midnight releases.
Do that?
Yeah, I had so many people, like literally at the midnight release, you would go get your book and they would literally flip to the end to be like, okay, he lives. Or, okay, I see these people on this page. Okay, that's fine. And like do that. Or I know someone who would read the last chapter first of every book just to know so they knew what was happening. And, you know, anxiety and whatever, do what you got to do for you. But like, I'm like, I get the urge to be like, I want to know what happens, but it's never worth it. If like some spoilers I genuinely don't care about because it's not going to be like that emotional investment. But my God, even like I'm behind on Ted Lasso right now. And I'm like, nope, avoiding Twitter. I'm avoiding Twitter. And it's not even like in the common conversation right now. It's in the middle of a season. I'm 2 episodes behind. I'm like, nope. Literally cannot get a spoiler for this. I'm going to be upset. And when you take something like games that are like something that you experience so intimately in a way that shows and movies and stuff can't do because you are playing it for several hours. And
it's interactive.
Yeah, it's interactive. It's a self-insert. It's a bunch of different things. You're just robbing yourself of that potential investment. Like even in Spider-Man, I like clearly it's a Doc Ock story. We know what's going to happen there. I still cried in it and I didn't expect to get invested. Like, and I know I cry a lot. I joke all the time, but not in games really. Like it takes a lot for me to, because I'm also like, I'm the right kind of stimulated ADHD wise. Like I'm playing the game, I'm listening to stuff. I'm okay. And so it's hard for me to then like disconnect and like just feel that moment. And so there's only a handful of games I've been really emotional in. And I didn't expect Spider-Man to be one of them. But if that had been leaked, I don't think I would have gotten as invested as I did in the game. Like even anything with, them spinning off to like Miles Morales, like everything was just a shock to me when I first played it. And it made me way more invested and keeps the game on one of my favorites list. And I don't think it would have been if I had just like known what I was getting into.
Yeah.
Which is why I won't talk about BioShock and Portal 2 and stuff on stream if I know anyone hasn't played it.
To end of this topic and this recording, I guess. There's two games where I had this reaction. Usually I'm not a person who cares about spoilers. Like, I got spoiled a bit for The Last of Us 2. Not the ending, but like
the beginning.
I'll
edit it out. I'll edit it out. Here's a beep.
Yeah. But I played, which really like made me emotional and actually made me cry.
Walking Dead.
And yes, the first season of the Telltale Walking Dead, the ending, and actually the ending of Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm trying to get people to play Red Dead.
God.
Wait, I know, Rabbit, but tell me what about both of those endings? I'll bleep out anything really bad, but I want to know. I'm selfish. We've never actually talked about it.
For
both of them.
The Telltale, it was just like everything fit, and it was so emotional, and the voice acting was superb. And I really built, like, I don't know, a relation to these two characters, which they had like this father-daughter, big brother, little sister dynamic going on. And obviously they both really cared for each other. And then, you know, it was so emotional. It just got me so good. And then obviously with Red Dead 2 with Arthur Morgan, you follow this character around and you see him grow from like this outlaw to this like moral person. He gets betrayed by Dutch and by Micah, of course, and you see him lose, and you see him get sick and like really like tired. And you know, with his end speech where he's talking to Dutch, like where he's like, "In the end, Dutch, I tried. I really did."
That got me so bad.
Yeah, no, but the thing that got me the most is like, firstly, this song.
Yes.
Is one of the best songs I think in gaming I've ever heard. It gives me chills literally every time I listen to it. But
Worlds,
also,
right?
Unshaken, it's called.
Oh yeah.
And the second, just like the imagery and the like visuals of the like ending scene where he's just like, you know, leaning against the rock and looking into the sunrise. It's just like, oh, I'm getting chills just talking.
I know. I literally have goosebumps you talking about it. It's been so long since I played it, but every time it's like, what would I put on the list of, you know, Telepath keeps asking this question of, you have 5 games you can put on this list, and it's not your favorite games, but the best games for whatever metric you want. Like, it's overall. So gameplay, story, whatever. And I always flirt with putting Red Dead 2 on there, and they've never played it, but every time we talk about it, I'm like, there's just something about it that opened me up to that type of open world game, number one. Because I didn't like the first Red Dead that much. Like, it was fine. And the second one literally punched me in the throat.
Yeah.
And
Rockstar knows how to tell a good story. You can, you know, obviously it has its fault, the gameplay, and Rockstar's game design in general is outdated and clunky and whatnot, but they know how to tell a story. And if you allow yourself to become invested into it, it'll break you for like a day.
It really freaking will. Oh my God.
But hang on quickly. 5 games, the best.
Yes.
Minecraft, Skyrim, Assassin's Creed 2.
I don't know why I expect you to say Syndicate.
What?
I don't know why I thought you were going to say Syndicate.
I didn't care for Syndicate much.
I couldn't either, but...
Borderlands 2 and... Yeah, I guess Red Dead then, right? Red Dead 2.
I think Last of Us 1, Portal 2... Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
I flirt with playing BioShock on there, but the UI is just so outdated. But if it didn't have, I don't know. I go back and forth on that because story-wise, absolutely quintessential. Absolutely quintessential. But if we're looking at really, the original's unplayable if you're not doing the remaster. And even then, there's like some balance issues. I would put, honestly, maybe Spider-Man, the Insomniac. Oh, God.
Yeah, and one more.
Sims 2. Ooh. Maybe Sims 3.
Ooh.
The only
spicy.
issue with Sims 3 is that it crashes a fuck ton.
Right.
4 is clearly the best like editor we've had, like build mode by far. However, the gameplay is just so idyllic. Like they got rid of like the robbers and stuff like that because it gave people anxiety, which I appreciate. Like they're being that, but everything goes right, and you can have some wacky things in their mods, but the actual gameplay itself, just I will immediately lose interest, and I used to be able to like hyperfixate on it. But Sims 2, I feel like paved the way for a lot of people to really get into, you know, a lot of different build modes, like Far Cry having their build mode or Minecraft or things like that. But it also, my God, it's I don't know, it half of my childhood at that point.
Don't follow me.
Go follow Vocal. I will do a little thing for you. He's Vocal Assassin. I will do it later, and I can add it in since he's too sleepy to tell me his Twitch.
I don't like plugging myself.
It feels
awkward.
Go follow Vocal Assassin with a 0 and an underscore.
I have the announcer voice to do it. I don't like doing it for myself.
I'm going to make you record the actual intro. Like, I'm going to get like one little thing. It's like your little PogChamp thing. It's going to be great.
Sure, just hit me up what you want me to read.
I love you. Go the fuck to bed, you old man.
Yeah, it's 10:20, Lion. It's late.
Oh my God, you're insane. Thank you, everyone, for listening and hanging with us on this episode of DLC Required. Be sure to subscribe so you know when there's a new episode, and more chaos and more rants and more to love. For more Vocal, you can find him on Twitch at vocal_assassin. I'm Speaking Lion on Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, pretty much, you know, all your favorite socials for both game and cosplay and general life bullshit. And we'll see you with whatever the hell we end up talking about next week. Stay classy, friends. Lion out.